Hello and welcome to The Flow. Today we're going back to the 80s to find out what it was like to ride the very first mass-produced mountain bikes. I'll be taking this near-new Columbia Trailmaster ATC from 1984 on its first trail ride. Stick around to learn if this bike and I survived the single track. But first, here's a brief rundown of this wild machine. Steel is real when it comes to building a sturdy bike, and this bike has plenty of it. Constructed from a lugged high-10 steel frame and fork, the bike rolls on steel 26-inch wheels, wrapped in 2 1/4-inch wide tires. Thummies control the Shimano 10-speed drivetrain, with 2 chainrings in the front and 5 gears in the back. The contact points include basic metal flat pedals, a leather-wrapped Springer saddle, and flanged grips. The riding position is surprisingly comfortable due to the wide swept-back bull moose handlebars. Lastly, ACS 4-finger brake levers pull the matching cantilever brakes to provide an illusion while stopping on the trail. What do you say? Shall we hit the trails? For the first impressions of riding this bike on actual mountain bike trails, I immediately noticed how much feedback I received from the trail. Due to the small wheels with overinflated tires and lack of suspension, I felt every bump, root, and rock on the trail. I found that the raw feeling from the trail forced me to choose better and smoother lines. Another noticeable difference on the bike comes from the shape of the brake levers. Instead of 1 or 2-finger levers, these levers require 4 fingers to operate. This design resulted in some sketchy situations where I had no fingers covering the brakes because I was holding on for dear life to the handlebars. However, if I needed to brake, I would have to unwrap my fingers from the grips and move them to the brake levers.
Oh, goodness.
Surprisingly, I didn't think much about the drivetrain while riding most of the trail that was flat or had rolling hills. The friction thumb shifter was inconvenient at times, but I didn't have any issues with it. Unfortunately, I wished I had lower gears when climbing. This bike has unusually large chainrings, limiting my gear ratio. An upside to the issue is that I was forced to stand up while climbing, causing me to climb faster. After all of this, I'm sure you're wondering if you can really ride mountain bike trails on a bike from the early 1980s. The short answer is yes. I had a great experience mountain biking today. Even though I was on a vintage mountain bike with marginal wheels, brakes, and tires, I still had a smile on my face at the end of the ride. By riding a bike like this, I was reminded what mountain biking is truly about. It's not about the latest tech and blingy components, nor is it about getting the fastest times on Strava. Mountain biking is an all-encompassing term for simply having a blast in the woods on a pedal-powered machine.